Hi, bitch besties. It's your main bitch, Melly. Thank you so much for tuning in, and welcome to another episode of the Judgy Bitch Pod. Hi, bitch besties. Welcome to another solo episode. We made it through January. I hope January treated you all nice and kindly. Welcome to February. Let's see what this month has in store for us. And I start the month off with a new solo episode. Just me today. Peanut's right over there sleeping, watching me, supervising me in his dreams, I guess. Today, I have a very personal topic. Very personal. I hope I get through this episode without crying, but we'll see how things go. You may or may not remember that my friend and I came up with a name for ChatGPT because I cannot pronounce ChatGPT all the time. I use it way too often, not only in words, but actually use the app. So my friend and I had dinner once and we were talking about it and joking around, and we ended up with a name for ChatGPT. Call it David. We came up with David because we thought we needed an older man's name, like a wise old man kind of thing. But we wanted it to be a male because we figured that we women still need to tell ChatGPT what to do, what not to do. So that's why we wanted a male, more jokingly, of course, And we came up with David. And just recently, the same friend sent me a clip on Instagram that apparently whoever came up with the name Karen for that stereotype woman now came up with the name David for the counterpart to Karen. Did I invent it or what? I don't know how that happened, but it's exactly the idea. Yeah, so funny. So when I speak of David in this episode, just know that I'm referring to ChatGPT. And as mentioned earlier, this is going to be a very personal episode. And that's because, as you know, as you can hear probably, I am from Germany. I have an accent. English is not my first language. I learned it later on in life. Actually, I started learning English in school in 5th grade as, second language that you learn in school. And I learned it all through, I went to school for 13 years. So I went it all through the end of my school experience, school time or whatever. And after high school, I became an au pair here in America. And that's when I really started to learn the language. When I first came here as an au pair, I had so many years of school English behind me, but I felt like I'm not speaking well enough. I could barely understand anybody. I was lacking vocabulary to really talk and communicate. It was really, really tough. But I had remembered that a friend of mine who had done the same experience before me, she had told me it's going to take about 3 months until you kind of pick it up. Like all of a sudden overnight, you understand more and you can communicate more and all these things. But the first 3 months, man, they were devastating. They were crushing. But she was right. After about 3 months, all of a sudden, I felt like I picked it up and I was able to communicate. I learned more and more vocabularies every day. And, I'm still learning it to this day. I probably will never end up being perfect in it. It's still going to be my second language. And I still learn every day new vocabularies. But I'm much better now, obviously. I've lived in the States now for over 11 years. My au pair time that I referenced is, over 20 years ago, although I'm only 25, but you know what I mean? Yeah. And even though I'm a grown adult, I'm experienced, independent woman, I still feel sometimes when I'm meeting new people here in America that I'm just a little girl amongst adults. Do you know that feeling when you just feel small and insecure and little? And I asked ChatGPT why that is. Why do I feel so small sometimes, especially when I'm meeting new people or when we're in a group of people? I'm usually very talkative, ChatGPT even. I'm opinionated, I'm loud, I'm articulated, I'm an independent, outspoken woman. But sometimes in a group of people, I can become very quiet and very intimidated, and I feel small. So I asked ChatGPT why that is. And the response I got made me cry. It really made me cry. And I think that's because for the first time in my life, I thought about it, analyzed it, and I felt so seen by the response David gave me. And I want to share that response today with you, not only for my people out there to understand me better, but also I wonder if there's people out there, my bitch besties listening or watching today, who can relate to that. And maybe the responses David gave me will help them as well. But for all others, here in America, we're pretty proud of having a part of so many nationalities, though currently doesn't feel like it, but normally are very proud of, living amongst so many different nationalities. So you and we're probably communicating with people from different backgrounds, different languages on a daily basis. So just shining some light on this and bringing some awareness how that other person might feel if they feel anything like me. Maybe that will help us too in the communication with other people and just raising some awareness of being more aware of it and more sensitive to that. So I hope I'm not going to cry today. We'll see how it goes. Bear with me. David pretty much nailed it. So here's David's response to my question. Why do I sometimes feel so small in a group of people or when I'm meeting new people? And the response David gave me says, first, let's look at language and identity. When English isn't your first language, even you speak it fluently, part of your self-expression can feel muted. You might not feel as sharp or quick with jokes, nuances, or tone as you do in German. And that can create a subtle feeling of being less than, even though you aren't. It's not lack of intelligence. It's a language processing delay. You know who you are in German, confident, funny, in control, but in English, that identity can feel filtered or slowed down. Yeah, in English, sometimes I pause and search for the right words. And somewhere along the way, I confused that pause with weakness, I guess. My nervous system learned be careful, observe first, and don't mess up. Especially when you're surrounded with people who don't mean ill or anything, right? But sometimes when you pronounce something wrong, people smile, people laugh. Other people even make jokes of it and make fun of it. And that doesn't help really, does it? Right? With my self-esteem in that portion. So if you're somebody dealing with somebody with an accent, please be mindful. Even correcting sometimes feels condescending. Like sometimes I don't like to be corrected. And I'm telling you, it's different when my friends do it than if my manager or a person in power or somebody I'm intimidated by or whatever other vocabularies. So please be mindful when correcting somebody or smiling or laughing or, we're doing our best. We're trying our hardest. Nobody likes to be made aware of when they're making mistakes. That's not a comfortable feeling. Although part of learning is, of course, being corrected and learning it the right way. But there's a tone and time and a place when to do it and when not to do it. The second point David pointed out is power dynamics and social positioning. Meeting new people, especially in a second language, can trigger a mini power imbalance. Subconsciously, your brain registers, they're in their home linguistic turf, and I am the guest. That can make you automatically step into a smaller, more observant role until you've gauged the vibe. That's very true, isn't it? It's true. And maybe not only for people who speak a different language, maybe it's true in general that sometimes you're feeling like you're the new kid in school and you just want to observe and gauge the vibe, right? But speaking a second language, that makes it even harder when you also feel intimidated by the language barrier. The third point David pointed out is self-esteem versus familiar roles. Sometimes it's not about language at all, but the emotional association that come up. If you've often been in roles where you had to prove yourself, like starting over in the US, starting in a new job, new social circles. Your body remembers that feeling of being the new one. It's like an emotional muscle memory, not a lack of self-esteem, but a learned defense mechanism. Man, when I read this the first time, I felt like for the first time, someone named that. I felt that for so long on the inside of me, but I never really analyzed it or spoke about it. So for the first time, somebody said that, and not as insecurity, not as a trauma, but as a strength that hasn't fully caught up to my life yet. Like, I felt so seen, deeply seen by this. And I realized how rarely we allow ourselves to do that. That was very powerful for me. So now ChatGPT offered me how to reframe this. So ChatGPT/David said, try this. Ground yourself in what's true. You're a woman with 20 plus years of experience. You run your own podcast. Hi, bitch besties. You've built a life in a second language. That's powerful, my heart. Thanks, David. Breathe before entering social settings. Tell yourself, I'm not smaller. I'm just in observation mode right now. Bring your humor in early. Humor bridges language and confidence, and it's one of your biggest strengths. Aw, David, thank you. So David said, I can use mantras like, my accent is not a flaw. It's proof I was brave enough to start over. You're damn right. I was brave to start over. Pausing doesn't make me less intelligent. Well, that's true too. Observing doesn't mean I don't belong. Damn, David, you're so smart. I don't shrink. I just warm up. That's it. That's exactly right. So ChatGPT/David gave me grounding affirmations. He said, you've carried yourself through so many new environments, new countries, new careers, new languages, and every time you've had to rebuild your confidence from scratch. That's a hard one too, yeah. That's not weakness, that's strength, layered in courage. So let's create a few grounding affirmations and mindsets shifts just for you. Something that feels true to your tone, not corny or forced. All right, David, let's do it. So David said, before you meet someone new, I can use these mantras and say, I don't have to prove myself. I just have to be myself. That's very true. My accent tells a story of bravery, not limitation. I've rebuilt my life in another language. Small talk can shake me. I'm not the new one. I'm the interesting one. David gave me advice for when I start feeling small or unsure. This is what I should say. This feeling is old, not accurate. I'm safe, I'm grown, and I belong here. I may pause to find my words, but my presence speaks louder. Even when my English hesitates, my energy doesn't. Bitch besties, it doesn't. I will always be the main bitch character. And then he said, before walking into a room or a call, I can say these. They're lucky to meet me. They just don't know it yet. I bring warmth, humor, and experience. That's my language. Let them see me, not the version I think I should be. Boom, David, yes. And then he gave me an optional grounding trick. Right before walking in or logging on a call or whatever, take one slow breath and picture yourself standing next to the version of you who's fully at home in German. That woman who's witty, quick, grounded, no nonsense. Let her walk in with you. You don't leave her behind. You just translate her confidence. That's really great advice. My little bitch sister right next to me, German Melly. I love that. I really like that. That's good advice. And probably that's also advice you can apply for other areas in your life, not only for when you have a language barrier. But I really like that. And then he gave me a realistic plan that I can use to rebuild my daily confidence. We had Lauren on last week who taught us about self-esteem and how we can work on this. And ChatGPT/David also gave me a daily plan, a realistic plan, how I can rebuild my confidence. So he says, here's a simple, realistic plan you can use to rebuild daily confidence. Not fake positive vibes, but the deep, grounded kind that sticks. First, start with micro proof, not pep talks. Instead of forcing I'm confident, look for proof every day that you already are. Each morning, jot down on one sentence that starts with, yesterday I handled blank like a boss. For example, I spoke up even though I was nervous. I navigated something in English perfectly. I made someone laugh. These tiny receipts train your brain to notice your strength instead of just surviving it. That's great advice, David. Thank you. Second, he says, reframe your inner voice. Notice when your brain says, I sound stupid, or they probably think I'm weird. Try replying silent or even out loud with something playful and firm, like, nah, they're just catching up to my charm. It's okay. English is my second language. Confidence is my first. Humor disarms insecurity faster than perfection ever will. And you're naturally funny, so this works beautifully for you. Just reading David giving me so many compliments helps me already. Third, he says, use social media as a mirror, not a judge. Although I'm the judgy bitch, but I'm only good judgy bitch. You're already doing something brave every week, putting yourself and your voice out there publicly. Instead of checking analytics for validation, try it this once a week. Go back to an old post or clip and comment as your biggest fan. Write what you wish someone had said to you that day. She's magnetic. She's getting bolder. She's owning it. I might do that. I might go back on my old post and just comment on myself. He says, that's a self-love loop you can literally see. Bitch Besties, are you taking notes? Are you feeling me? He says, number 4, anchor yourself in ritual. Before big moments, meetings, recordings, new people, use a mini grounding ritual. Stand tall, drop your shoulders, one deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. Whisper, I'm not auditioning, I'm arriving. That's bitch energy. Yes, that's what we need. That one line changes the entire energy you walk in with. Number 5, body confidence boost. Confidence is physical before it's mental. Let me say that again. Confidence is physical before it's mental. Every day, take 60 seconds to stand in front of the mirror. Make eye contact and say something kind to yourself in your own accent. That sound, your real voice, will start to feel like home again. Let's do that together from now on, every day. Number 6, community refuel. Surround yourself, even digitally, with other multilingual expert or creative women who get it. You thrive in community and conversation. So every time you share a piece of your story, that small feeling gets replaced with connection. I love that. ChatGPT had some great ideas. Let's sum that up. He calls it Melly's Daily Confidence Ritual. Bitch bestie version. So 30 seconds a day, that's all it really takes. We start in the morning with a micro proof. Every morning you say, yesterday I handled blank like a boss. Remind yourself of one tiny win. Confidence grows from evidence, not perfection. Midday mirror check, and you can even do that at work. Look at yourself for 10 seconds. I'm not auditioning, I'm arriving. Shoulders back, breathe, let your voice, accent and all, feel like home again. Before calls, meetings, or any social stuff you have going on, they're lucky to meet me. They just don't know it yet. Smile, channel your German confidence, translate it through warmth and humor. In the evening, The power recap. Today I was brave when I blank. Don't chase huge moments. Celebrate the subtle ones. They're the scaffolding of real confidence. Bonus reminders. My accent is my story, not my flaw. English is my second language. Confidence is my first. I can shrink, I observe, then own the room. I've built a whole life in another country. Small talk? Yes, please. Isn't that so powerful, bitch besties? If you have ever felt small in rooms, you earned your way into it. Like, seriously. If you've ever lived between languages, cultures, different identities, different personalities, whatever, you're not broken. You're layered, bitch besties. And you don't need to become louder, just more present. A little bit more bitch energy. Thank you so much for holding space for me today. And thank you for seeing me. If this episode resonated with you, bitch besties, I would love to hear your story. You are not alone in this. I'm right here with you. I've been through this. I'm still going through this. And even if it sometimes feels a little weird, we just have to remind ourselves and do our affirmations. Let me know what you think. Let me know your thoughts. I'm going to keep this a shorter episode because it's heavy with a lot of content. I hope it helps. Thanks for listening, bitch besties. I'll see you next week. Bye. Hi, bitch besties. Surprise, I'm back. I'm just sitting here and editing the episode I recorded this morning. And while I'm editing it, I have so many more thoughts I wanted to say. And since it's such a short episode, I felt like I can just do an addition to it. Speaking of languages, and I focus very much of English not being my first language, but I also want to say, after I've been here for so long, for 11 years, and I barely go back to Germany to visit, I speak a mix of German and English with Peanut. And that's exactly how my brain works now. I feel like I'm stuck between both languages. You know, ChatGPT kind of analyzed how I cannot really express my personality in English because I am German and everything. And it also implies like I'm thinking in German, and that's why some things just don't translate. But I must say that's not 100% true. I think in both languages. My mind is a complete mix of English and German. You can call it Jinglish. And I think I also dream in both languages. People always ask me if I dream in English or in German. And I think it really depends on what I'm dreaming. And that's how my mind just works. I cannot really explain it. Some things just come in English to me, and my inner voice speaks English to me, especially when I'm cursing. Rage that comes easier in English to me. I don't know why, expressing feelings and thoughts. But other things come in German to me. So I dream in both languages. I speak to Peanut in both languages. Peanut understands both languages, which is funny. I would say I mainly talk German to him though, but because we did a puppy school when he was a little puppy, that's how he learned. And that was in English. So a lot of commands he knows in English, but also some in German. Isn't that funny? Yeah, I think that's the question I get the most from people back in Germany if I dream in English. And I can say I dream in both languages. And I also want to say I once had a friend, also a German friend, who felt the pressure of being perfect and not having an accent. And she said to me, you know, when you make mistakes speaking English, it's cute and all, but I can't. And I was like, that's a little condescending. Why do you think so? But I think she was just feeling the same way. You know, sometimes you feel differently if your friend goes through something and you have great advice, but then when the same thing happens to you, you're much harsher with yourself and you don't allow yourself the same grace. Maybe that's what she was feeling. Yeah. But those are the thoughts that I wanted to share, that sometimes I feel almost stuck between both languages because my brain is working in both languages. Sometimes the word I'm looking for doesn't come to me in either language and I don't know how to express myself. It really sometimes feels like I have a vacuum in my head. I think that's the best way to describe it. It's almost easier now after such a long time to speak English, but some things are just easier said in German. It's so funny. One of my best friends and I, we send voice notes on WhatsApp almost on a daily basis. We talk about what's going on in our lives, and she saves me a lot of money for therapy. She is my WhatsApp therapy, so to say. And it's funny when I want to tell her something that I have experienced or like a conversation I had or something, I feel like I'm stumbling over my own words so much because it's so hard. Something that I lived through in English and experienced in English to then tell her in German. Her English is very, very good. And she offered to me, I can just say it in English and it's fine. But even when I'm speaking with my parents, I want to tell them something that happened to me, even if it's something funny, I feel like in my mind, I'm reliving what had happened in English, but because I'm speaking to my parents, I need to translate it quickly into German. And, the sentence structure in German is so different from the one in English. So that's why I'm starting to stumble over my own words. And then I feel like I'm caught in a vacuum and words, like somebody said something and I can't remember that word in German or that expression in German if it's completely different. And that's a tough one sometimes, especially expressions. I was raised with my dad always having funny expressions, always, still does to this day. And I feel like I learned that from him. That's in my DNA. That's how I function and talk too. I always have a metaphor or like a funny saying or something. And some of these just don't translate into English. You may remember my very first episode with Simone, Two Drunk Bitches, where we were literally translating German sayings into English. And some of them, they're just funny. Like when you want to say now the mess is complete, in German we say now you have the salad. It makes absolutely no sense in English, but it's just a saying in German. And there's so many of those sayings. And these are the things that I can relate to when ChatGPT David told me that part of my personality is almost lost or muted when speaking English because those funny sayings pop up into my mind so quickly and so easily when speaking or like when being out and about. And that's the part where I feel like I can't translate that into English because it doesn't make sense to say, no, we have the salad. And that's the part I feel like where my humor might be muted in English. But that also applies, as I just mentioned, the other way around. I feel like there are so many sayings and things that I learned over the years to say in English that when I speak German and I want to apply those kind of English sayings, that doesn't translate into German either. And that part of my English personality gets lost when I speak German. So I feel like it goes both ways. It's not a one-way street. And it's interesting. I should have asked ChatGPT the other part too, and maybe David could have analyzed that for us and I could have read some more things, but I didn't want to leave that part out. I felt like now that I was editing the episode, it was very one-sided, and that's not the full truth. There's so much more that makes it complicated. I wanted to share that with you guys. I wonder if you also have experiences like this. If you do, please share with me. I'd love to hear your stories, and I hope it helps you understand me a little better. And I think maybe in one of my next solo episodes, maybe we can talk a little bit also about mentality, because, German mentality is different from American mentality. And, the stereotypes, the directness and straight to the point and stuff. And I have a few examples I can give you from when I went to Germany a few years ago. And I was culture shocked from my own culture because over the years you just get Americanized. And I feel also the same is true with my language. That's another thing I wanted to say, actually. And sorry, I keep rambling on, but it's my podcast. You come here to listen to me. And I hope you're enjoying it. When I speak German with my German friends and family, I sometimes hear that they tell me that the way I pronounce my sentences, like my sing-sang, is not the same as in German anymore. So I guess I took on the American sing-sang, how we pronounce and like the flow through the sentences. And I guess I apply that now to German. I don't realize that. I don't even hear it, to be honest. It's interesting though. So I guess you can just say I've been Americanized. Well, I also became an American, so I am American, but I'm also German. I'm a dual citizen. It's just interesting when you start thinking about it and analyzing it, and then you ask ChatGPT or even a therapist. I spoke with my therapist about that a few times as well. It's interesting. Yeah, I wanted to share that. I didn't want to leave that out of the episode. I also felt like the episode, because I read so much from David, that it felt a little stiff, and I wanted to bring my personality into it and my own experiences into it. So I hope you like this little extra. I hope it makes the episode more fun. Let me know what you think if you're completely disturbed by the two-parted episode. That's okay too. I understand. It wasn't planned this way, but we're rolling with the punches over here. And thanks for listening, Bitch Besties. I see you next week. Talk soon. Bye. That was it for today. Thank you so much for listening. And if you are as excited and opinionated as Peanut and me, please give us a follow on Instagram at the Judgy Bitch Pod. And don't forget, please also tell everybody you know about this new podcast so they come and follow us as well. We would much appreciate it. Would you like to be part of it? Sure, go ahead. Send us a DM with your feedback, your hot takes, and your unapologetic opinions. We might read them next time. And last but not least, don't forget, please follow, review, and rate wherever you listen to this podcast. See you next week. Cheers, bitches.